my belief is AI cannot acquire 250,000 teachers. AI can't acquire 1 million bookings a year where a teacher needs to open a phone, where they get on in our app. AI certainly can't acquire 5,000 paying customers, 5,000 Australian schools. Is what can we build quickly to serve to those eyeballs that are already in our app? And that's the agitation and that's the excitement. That if you show me a team that is comfortable saying, I don't know, I need help, I made a mistake, I'm late, I'm over budget, they're comfortable saying that, then I'll show you a team on rocket boosters every single time. Because that vulnerability to say that something has gone wrong means that the problem can be solved extra quickly, collaboratively, and you can move forward and be stronger together as a team.
Running a business can feel lonely, especially when the decisions get heavy. Welcome to CEO Risk Pro by Saurabh Jain. Practical insights from the boardroom and the meditation cushion. I'm Saurabh. I've done 10,000 hours in 3 major parts of my life. I've spent 10,000 hours being a CEO, 10,000 hours being a board member, and 10,000 hours meditating. What we're going to do in each episode is really unpack a real business challenge that a CEO is facing and see if we can work through it together. Enjoy. Hi, g'day guys. Saurabh here again. Today I've got Ben from ClassCover with me. Ben, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for having me. My name is Ben Grozier from ClassCover. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ClassCover. It's a software as a service that helps 5,000 schools and about 250,000 teachers in Australia and New Zealand to manage casual relief teachers. It's a bit of a niche offering. Sort of, I guess we have a solution to a very large problem in a very niche area of education where formerly someone would make up to 45 phone calls to find a casual teacher, and now thanks to our software, they can automate that whole process, find their teacher really quickly.
Oh, so a teacher calls in sick, your tech finds the right teacher, allocates them the job and gets them there whenever they can?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're sort of moving towards, we've got a lot more adjacent services now, moving towards being a bit of a LinkedIn for education, or a bit of an education super app, as we like to call it, where the teachers can access professional development, they can access job opportunities, and sort of LinkedIn style news feed, and so yeah, very much sort of a vertical or deep jobs platform.
And then do you guys, just my interest, then do you guys then have a marketplace of available teachers, or does each school set up their own little marketplace of who they want to teach at their school?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So one of our, what I would call our unfair advantages, especially when we're first starting, is that our acquisition of those teachers came at zero cost, because whenever we signed up a school,
Loaded them all on?
bring something between 20 and 100 teachers with them. Now, teachers can sign up themselves, just come straight on the platform, but the school curates their own list of teachers.
And so their preferred list of teachers they like?
That's right. Or they can access a directory of teachers who've said they're available for additional work, and that's that directory that they can review profiles and connect with them if they wish.
Okay, brilliant idea. So the way we run this podcast is we kind of talk through a business problem you're having right now and we'll workshop that together. What's something top of mind? What's causing you some grief right now?
Yeah, so grief, probably not so much, more with a big combination of managing shiny new thing syndrome in an AI environment. That's what I'd like to call it. And really, how hard to push my team when it comes to adoption of AI technologies pretty much across the board. And I'll give you some context.
Yeah, give me some examples, yeah.
So I feel like that the ClassCover business is extremely well positioned to scale more efficiently, to really hypercharge revenue and profit thanks to AI technologies. And that's partially because of our size, in that we're not going to go from 10 designers and I'm going to need to sack 4 of them because of AI. We have an engineering team, of course, with about a dozen, 15 engineers in it. There might be some efficiencies to be gained there as time goes on. But typically we've got 1 to 2 people in every skill set. And so of those 1 to 2 people, what can they do to do more with less when it comes to utilizing AI technology?
Yeah. Or just produce more output, produce more better code, build more features with the same number of people?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And probably much to the frustration of people on my engineering team, I'll spend a Saturday evening vibe coding a new feature, or my head of product will get on Claude MCP and say, oh, this is so easy, or oh, yeah, why can't we be doing this with AI? And it's, from a cultural team management point of view, it's a bit of an intricate balance when effectively in a software company, you're challenging your subject matter experts, who are your engineers, who are your designers, and as a non-technical person, nor a UX person, nor a designer. I'm saying, well, how hard can we push it? Because I've just read this blog, I've just heard this podcast. Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we tap our head and rub our tummy at the same time, because of what's out there?
So the problem is, how hard do I push my team to adopt to use AI? And that's to use AI to make them not more efficient, not necessarily the product. That might be a separate thing. But how do I get them to want to use the newest tools to be more efficient?
Yeah, and it's so absolutely yes. And then so let's say, for example, I read an article in the AFR the other day, and the CEO of Safety Culture, he was talking about, we're deploying features in days that used to take us months to deploy. And it was straight out of the top drawer of that, done is better than perfect. Because he was like, if it takes me 3 days to deploy a product and the product doesn't work, or the feature doesn't work, and not doesn't work from a bug perspective, but isn't adopted by the user base, then you can always change it. You can always, iterate, or you can pull it. And because it's only taking you 3 days to develop, then that's way less time and money investment than something that takes 3 months. Now, in respect to traditional, whether you want to call it software practices or the mindset of a software development team, that creation of a roadmap, that well thought out process, that user feedback, I guess, in summary, what is perceived to be available out there in the way of AI utility for companies such as ours, is the ability for me to go proper founder mode and just to say, I want us to have this feature. How quick can we get it?
Just do it.
Super cheap. Just do it. If it doesn't work, we'll pull it. Or it doesn't work, we'll iterate on it. And that can be frustrating to have a CEO or even senior team members who pretty much feel like they know better, in an area of the business that they've never really had too much expertise in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Look, if it makes you feel better, you're not alone. So out of the boards I'm on, 4 tech companies, and every single CEO, I've had this exact conversation because change is hard. Like, 40 years ago when they put computers into workplaces, or 35 years ago, whenever it was, I'm sure CEOs at the time were like, how do I get my staff to use word processors? How do I get them to get off typewriters and start using word processors because they're so much more efficient? And then similarly, like with when Excel kind of happened, I'm sure finance people would be like, how do I get my guys to stop using manual ledgers and use Excel or use these new computerized accounting systems? So we've totally faced this problem before. So it's not a unique thing for humanity to sort out.
Yeah.
It's a bit different because it's a bit faster and it's happening a lot quicker. And historically, you just waited for people to get old and retire, and the new generation would come up, but you can't necessarily wait for that. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Do you have credibility with your engineering team when it comes to these kind of things? Do they view you as an engineering peer?
No, but I'm very transparent about that. And that's part of, like, we've known each other a little while. I'm very hard on my sleeve, very authentic, very willing to say I don't know, very willing to say that as my role as CEO, I've referred to myself over the years as the chief snowplow. Just get all the crap out of the way and let the people who know their job better than me, allow them to do their best job possible. So when you talk about credibility, I think my vulnerability in subjects that I don't know about is where I get the credibility. So the relationship with I guess teams like my engineering team is excellent. And it's funny you reference the speed, like, versus whether it be typewriters into PCs or what have you. It is the speed and the fire hose of information that we're getting about what's available. You add that to a curious mind, you add that to an ambitious business owner, and I need to be very empathetic towards my team to sort of throttle that, to not be constantly saying, what about this? What about this? Have you seen Claude Design? Have you seen this? Have you seen that?
Yep.
So the conversations are open, and the conversations are, again, very authentic, and no one's really pushing back. And I should say, the other area where I'm trying to be the best possible leader that I can be is that we're also in the back end of a massive integration piece of work with our new Queensland government partners, and my guys are flat out.
They're busy anyway, right?
The last thing they want to do is get a blog forwarded by me saying, hey, can we deploy a feature in one day? So yeah, they're the sort of challenges. I think I'm managing reasonably well, but it still is something that it keeps me in a bit of a state of agitation, because I would love to get to the end of the year and have a bunch of new features deployed in a tenth of the time, like I'm hearing safety culture.
Everyone else does.
Everyone else does.
And you think everyone else in the world is doing this properly, except for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
My question was a tiny bit subtler. So I'm sure you've got a great relationship with your engineering team, but do you have engineering credibility with them?
And by engineering, as in, do they think I know what I'm talking about
When it comes to
engineering?
technical things?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And again, I own that completely.
Yep. That's just not your expertise. Your
No,
expertise is somewhere else.
exactly right. Obviously, I've learned a lot over the years, from a non-technical perspective, and that would extend to other members of my team who are probably agitated. Well, I'm putting a bit of a speed hump in between the other members of my team, saying, "Hey, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this?" And I'm saying, guys, they're super busy with this Queensland gig. Just leave them alone. Let's talk about that in June, when we're signed off. So to answer your question, no.
Yeah.
As far as engineering chops,
And that's normal, and everyone understands it. And is your agitation caused by a perceived lack of agility that you might have had in the past?
No, it is out of excitement.
It's excitement. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
good problem. And part of that is the excitement's fueled because, I think so many founders and CEOs will have gone on this emotional roller coaster as we've seen the AI press, let's call it, just again, fire hose of information, but scary stories, positive stories, opportunities, threats, and everything. So we're losing sleep for good and bad reasons, pretty much because of what we're seeing in the media about AI. Now, I've been on a bit of that roller coaster. Could someone replicate ClassCover? Funnily enough, we're launching in Ireland, or we've launched in Ireland. And would you believe that the reason we launched in Ireland is because a young punk in Ireland copied our entire platform using an AI dev, called it ClassCover, and then started a waiting list and threatened to launch. He actually validated the market for us. We got into cease and desist, and now we're launching. So we sort of turned a threat into an opportunity there. But in respect of lost sleep and, again, opportunity, and it's a real case of, my belief is AI cannot acquire 250,000 teachers. AI can't acquire 1,000,000 bookings a year where a teacher needs to open a phone, where they get on in our app. And AI certainly can't acquire 5,000 paying customers, 5,000 Australian schools. And so where the excitement comes from, this goes to the sort of LinkedIn for education dream, so to speak, is what can we build quickly to serve to those eyeballs that are already in our app? And that's the agitation, and that's the excitement.
Let me give you a pessimistic view of that, though. I reckon there's a SaaS apocalypse coming, and I'll tell you why. Because in the same way, there was like one kid that replicated, I don't know, 20% of your app, whatever it was, didn't replicate the usage or any of that kind of stuff with an AI tool. When there's just one of those guys, it doesn't really matter. But you could totally have 30 of those people chopping at your bit very quickly.
For sure.
They'll charge a tenth of what you charge or a quarter of what you charge. They won't have your cost base. So they might not chip into your existing client base. They might just make growth harder.
Mm-hmm.
So I reckon that's one of the great risks about not adapting is allowing one or two guys, one sales guy, one tech guy with a bunch of AI tokens to legitimately compete with a team of 15.
Mm-hmm.
That's the terrifying risk that one has.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think in respect of, I think that educations are very slow to change. Obviously, I've run this through my head many times in the last 6, 12 months, right? And education very slow to change sector. Probably 70% of our revenue is tied up in long-term government enterprise contracts. In respect of our market saturation, 5,500 out of the, let's say, 7,500 addressable schools in Australia use our product.
So you got market share.
So we got some moat, a little bit of moat, and I'm not stupid enough to just go, no, we're done. Like, let's, we're good here. There's no threat. Interesting you say about the 2 versus 15. That's kind of what we're setting up post June to really challenge, how hard we can push things and say, well, okay, I've got a product manager who is reasonably technical, certainly not a senior engineer by any means, but knows his stuff, and the stuff he's spinning up, on a weekend just for fun. And I don't know how robust it is in the back end. But again, it's starting a conversation. It's challenging norms. It's basically saying, can we do things faster, easier, whilst, of course, remaining secure and compliant, especially in the sector we're in. But yeah, look, totally one eye on.
It's good to be paranoid about everything.
Absolutely.
Good to be paranoid about everything.
Absolutely. But all things said and done, at this point, I think reasonable moat around the business, a lot of exciting opportunity, and really it's me with shiny new thing syndrome, and how do I responsibly convey that to the team and motivate them.
And have you been able to do anything that's been effective so far?
Yeah, I mean, like, so we're launching
Effective in terms of changing their behavior, getting them to use these tools and.
Yeah, big time. So UX designer, UI designer, graphic designer. I think I heard a stat late last year where the average number of designers to engineers is about 1 to 10. I think that's now about 1 to 4, because the engineering is seeing huge efficiencies with AI, but the designers, the AI slop, we need the designers. And I think when, again,
And that's plus also, I reckon people have more emphasis on design than they would have had 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So they want to do more design before they build something.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so say end of last year when that stat was published, it's almost like the designers breathe out and they go, okay, great.
Okay, we're going to survive.
AI is going for my job. Then look at Claude Design. Yeah, we just had an example just yesterday where a presenter who publishes some professional development content for us for our teachers wasn't really clear on the brand guidelines and submitted something which 6 months ago it would have been that needs to be redone. Into Claude, brand style guide uploaded, changed in 10 seconds.
Yeah,
completely edited. Probably 3 to 4 days of work down to 45 seconds.
What is it that's made the designers adopt, yet the engineers not adopt as quickly?
So design side, their capacity, that's an operational reason, and that's to say that in respect of this very large Queensland project that we're undertaking, their job is basically done. They have some capacity.
They've got the time.
Not reticent.
Yeah.
I'm not reticent to say, and this is what I threw down at them. I basically said, your job's safe. You've got a long-term future here at ClassCover, but I want to see how much you can put yourself on rocket boosters. Pretty much, here's the credit card for the AI tokens, the AI tools, just go at it. And they responded so well. And this is a team of young, driven, team members / colleagues who really met the challenge. And what I'm hoping is that come June, when the heat comes off our dev team, is that they're going to step up to that challenge as well. And when you ask about do I have credibility with the engineering team, probably my weak spot is that they say no or they don't adopt, I'm not in as good a position to challenge them because, again, I'm not an engineer.
Yep. So I'm glad to hear the designers worked well, but I would think I wonder if there's something subtler in design teams that perhaps design teams over the last couple of years have self-selected to be open for change. So 2 years ago, you didn't have to use Figma. Today, you just have to use Figma. If you don't use Figma, you're not a legitimate designer.
Yep.
You used to do this in Adobe Photoshop or something a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So all the designers that were not up for change, they probably got filtered out of the tech industry and went to publishing or went in-house.
Yeah.
So I reckon most designers are probably happy to change. The other word that you said, which I'm not sure if you noticed, but you said young.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm 45. I'm too old to learn Canva. I just can't do it. I get irritated whenever I get a Canva presentation. I get my AI bot to convert it to PowerPoint for me, and I read that. Sometimes you're just old.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing is great engineers are in their 40s because it's a complex mathematical problem that you've had to solve for 20 years to get really, really good. Yeah. So that might be just another lens. Do you think that kind of fits with?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's funny because we just hired, I was saying to you before we started that we just hired a new salesperson locally. Now, it was a big consideration when we were interviewing her about her growth mindset and her open-mindedness towards adopting AI tools when it comes to sales. And again, probably from a generation point of view, she's right in the sweet spot. She was 20 years younger than I am. I'm 47. And I agree with that. And I think there is realities around whether it be levels of comfort, whether it be your risk appetite, your ability to, your appetite to be disruptive to both yourself and to the work that you do. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And I like to think that, as I'm sure you do, I think we both think we've got a big growth mindset, that we're really open to anything that's out there.
Except for Canva.
Well,
Except for
yeah,
Canva.
so I was trying to think of what my example was with Canvas, something that, because it is absolutely out there, but, yeah, it's very true. You need to, be realistic about the world that, you know, professionals are growing up in. Um, and if you are met with that fixed mindset, and whether it be risk aversion, fixed mindset, and no appetite to adopt in what is an incredibly fast moving and changing environment, then it can leave you a bit wanting.
I mean, so I'll give you an example of, I used to code a long time ago. But only vibe code now. Text editors. So I reckon if you go past every one of your engineers' desks, they use the same text editor they probably used a decade ago. And there's all these cool, smart, better text editors that have all this AI and better color coding and those kind of things. But what happens, whatever text editor you learned from, you almost never change because you're just used to it, right? You know all the shortcuts, you know how things work.
Yeah.
So change is fundamentally hard. It's hard for everybody in every facet of their life, but in engineers, how they code. And the initial reaction engineers, I've never had an engineer being worried that AI is going to take my job. They've always been worried AI will do a shitty job.
Yeah.
And that might have been the case a couple of years ago, but now AI is probably better than like a good engineer.
Yeah.
Maybe not an expert, but give it a year, probably better than an expert.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very hard to get that level of change. And my challenge to you, and because this is not solved, like I've not figured this out in my other board roles, is this even solvable? Can you actually get an engineer to become a 10x coder with a whole bunch of AI tools next to them?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a great question. When you say about using using the same tools and that level of comfort, I just think that, it's again goes to sort of, if we talk about fixed mindset, there's a connotation there that someone's sort of archaic. I do ultimately think though, because especially in engineering, the downside and the risk of bugs, or if you're an enterprise, if you're in GovTech, EdTech like we are, the risks are higher. Could be healthcare, could be finance. Is that risk aversion is fueled by a acute desire to not make mistakes, and that's okay too. And again, my CTO told me probably 12 months ago now that something like 8 out of the 10 of the biggest security breaches of the last year were all platforms that had a large component of AI engineering involved.
And they were probably hacked by AI tools, by the way.
Well,
they probably were.
Yeah. And I was listening to a podcast just on the way up here about that new Anthropic model that they didn't release because they were
Mythos, yeah.
Exactly, Mythos, that's right. So yeah, it's a really interesting one because I look, we have an offshore dev team, a ClassCover, based out of Chennai in India. Been with us since 2019. Now, the senior team members of this team, they walk the halls of the Queensland Department of Education when they come out, once every couple of months, and they're basically chaired out of the room. And they've had to meet some stereotype challenges. They've had to meet some, this is a government that had really never embraced SaaS ever until they engaged with us.
So lone SaaS with an offshore team.
That's right, exactly. So when we had to onboard them with a Teams environment and I gave an Indian phone number, they went, "What the hell?"
Yep.
And
what's this scam I've just signed up to?
Exactly. But the good news is, to the huge credit of my team, we're now in the second phase of UAT testing, massive integration piece with their human capital management system and their payroll system, and they've just given a great account of themselves. And so there has to be that risk aversion. When you've got a CEO who they know is non-technical or whatever, go, what about this? What about this? What about this? It could be anything from spell checking to, making, design elements consistent, what have you. I understand the pushback because they also know the risk.
I agree with that. And also, I think there's a depth to that. So something engineers and doctors have in common is they value their intellect. Like everyone will totally rate the doctor that's smarter than them, the surgeon that's better than them. Every developer will totally rate the engineer that's better than them. And if you want to ever attract an engineer, get a 10x CTO and they'll find the best engineers in the world and they'll want to go work with them. And engineers want to work with smart people. And one of the downsides of that is you get a bit of intellectual arrogance. And that's why I kind of quizzed you on the credibility question at the start. So for example, right, If I joined a company and they told me I've got to use a Windows computer, I would turn down that offer. I'm like, I'd rather not work for you, or I'd rather not have a computer. I'm going to use my Mac
Yeah, yeah,
because I'm smarter than you,
yeah,
and then Macs are better for
yeah,
me, and
yeah.
Windows sucks.
Mhm.
Very simple example, but I think
No, it's good
engineers
example.
engineers have that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So how does one? And I think that's one of the things that prevent them from adopting new tech is they need someone. So crudely said by the sales side, they need someone smarter than them
yeah,
in their domain
yeah.
to take them on that journey.
Yes, that's interesting because, yeah, my CTO, once again, I have a great relationship with him, been with us since 2019. He built out the dev team, um, and he has a incredible pedigree when it comes to the organisations he's worked with over the years gone by. Uh, he carries himself with an immense level of confidence and certainty, again, which has held us in. Like, when we walked into, I keep referring to this Queensland project right now. So that's a $500 million project, give or take. Of we occupy a tiny amount. Our little niche product that they went to SAP for 98% of it, and for the 2% they said no, we want ClassCover because they solved this problem the right way. And this would have been with SAP knocking on the door saying we can build that, just let us do the whole thing. So if we'd had this podcast 6 months ago, and you'd asked me about my greatest business challenge, it would have been how do we get this? How do we get this over the line by being a small startup?
Being the riskier option, right?
That's right,
Yeah.
exactly right. But we got there and we won it. It was a great thing. So problem no more. But when we first walked into this workshop, day one with Queensland, the only person in the room who did not feel out of his depth was my CTO. And again, Chennai based, had flown over. He's been seconded to Seattle for Amazon in years gone past, done HuffPost, Google, IBM over the course of his career. And just the confidence and the certainty, the willingness to challenge them on assumptions, and it's not even a downside. It's just it's just a team management and people management. It's not it's not a negative. It's just that risk aversion, which has done such great work for
It's
us,
great in that arena. It's amazing in that arena.
mandatory. Would we be here without that mindset? Is a little bit of a friction point when I'm going, the safety culture is doing that and Canva's doing that. Why can't we do it? And that's where it sort of is that balance.
Oh, totally. So I'll tell you one of the things we're trying, one of the companies I'm on the board of, is to get a new CTO on top
Mhm.
who's super AI focused. I reckon that's only a 50-50 chance of success, whether they work out or whether they just alienate everybody.
Yeah.
The other thing we've tried is just have AI training for the guys. That's not really been successful either.
Really interesting. So same thing. We've had a period of about 2.5 years where the business's entire existence has been about winning 2 government contracts.
Yep.
It's all been worth it because those 2 contracts have resulted in a 60-something% growth in the business.
Amazing. Yeah.
A high margin, long-term contracts. So well worth it. However, that very tired turn of phrase that I'm spending too much time, funny, we mentioned tech earlier, too much time working in the business and not enough time working on the business, that applies absolutely not just to our entire business, which is very normal and very common, but to our engineers. And I'll give you an example. We had, as part of this Queensland deal, we had to respond to 85 non-functional requirements. Everything from accessibility to pen tests.
Yep. All the good stuff. Yep.
All the good stuff. Now, we were 99.9% of the way towards executing the contract. Our friends in Queensland DOE HR walk into a meeting any given Tuesday. How you going? Yeah, good. Can't wait to get started with ClassCover. Oh, have you seen the updated non-functional requirements? Oh, no, I haven't seen them. I'll send them across. They give me a call and say, Ben, I'm really sorry, but we've just had the NFRs updated. They've added 100 to the NFRs. There's now 185. And so again, handed that, basically said to my engineering team, this is what we need to do to get this contract over the line.
Can you build it for me?
Exactly.
Please.
And they did, and they nailed it. And everything got done. And again, one of the unfair advantages of being a small business playing in the big kids pool with GovTech is that they marvel at the speed that we can do stuff, that we can change stuff.
100 times faster than that.
Exactly. And they've paid us a lot of compliments for that. So in respect of, let's say, a CTO or at least let's say, a partner or a mentor or someone like that can challenge my team around adopting AI technologies, whether it be putting my dev team through AI training. At this point in time, we're too busy working in the business to work on my business of engineering.
Yeah.
I hope to change that in the
It might be
in the
you'll just
coming months.
mentally plan it for July, right?
Absolutely.
Come July, let me
And that's
plan
what I mean.
this.
I'm trying to be the best possible leader to them to say, look, I'm chomping at the bit,
I'll say out of your way.
but I'm going to stay out of your way.
Yeah.
And I'm consumed with launching an island. I'm consumed with launching our educator intelligence, professional developing product for the teachers. But I'm like, you guys just get Queensland over the line. Let me know if there's any you need out of the way, but otherwise, I'm going to stay silent.
Yeah. And that makes sense for the next couple of months because you got like a
Yeah.
critical deadline. But I mean, because I've seen this problem a few times where you'll have a CTO, which is a steady, safe pair of hands, which is totally what you need. Like you can't have platforms going down. You've got live environments and stuff. Is it even solvable to make someone like that take what might be perceived as super high risk with AI tools and external models and data being pushed around the internet and all those kind of things? Is that even doable?
Again, I think it comes down to capacity and growth mindset. So, and again, give you an example. With our launch in Ireland, we're classcover.com.au. We wanted to change our domain to classcoverhq.com. So we have a global, now on my head of growth, even head of product, myself, we're like, look, we've launched in Ireland. Can we get our emails up and going? Da, 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 da. Yep, great. When can everyone have classcoverhq.com? Well, you got to consider this. 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 From our CTO. Now, in that moment, all of us collectively went, oh, geez, I didn't think of that. And it's a great call out. And that's nothing to do with AI. That's just change. But it's a safe pair of hands who is mitigating risk, who's calling out things that either A, we haven't thought of, or B, have no capability to think of. And
But
that's a massive virtue from a CTO or anyone in the business. In respect of, and I mentioned growth mindset and capacity, I think the first step as a CEO, whatever owner that I need to do is I need to make sure that they have authentic amounts of capacity in order to work on their business.
They got legitimate time
of
to
being
spend.
an engineer.
Yeah.
Because while I'm consistently overloading them unintentionally,
There's something to that. Yeah.
I don't think I have any right to say change your practices.
They won't have the mind space to
That's
think
right.
about it.
That's right.
Yeah. But just going back to the steady pair of hands, is it possible to have a growth mindset and a steady pair of hands in the same mind, in the same person?
It absolutely is.
Have you give me some examples of where you've seen that be a thing? 'Cause I'm just racking my brain. It's not obvious in my mind.
Well, I think it again comes down to prioritization. It comes down to effort over impact, or more to the point, highest impact, lowest effort. And I guess in respect to prioritization, it's aligning on risk profile, on like I've said 3 or 4 times already about the proportion of time you can spend on the business rather than in the business. And again, I guess changing the email domain, it's the same. Talk about the text editor. It's probably a really simple and relatable analogy to use around, okay, we want to change it, but that's going to take time because it's going to touch everything from our customer service software to, logins, all that sort of stuff. And so, yes, I'm open to do it, but let's make sure we do it properly. I think I have that.
And you think that exists in one person?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do think I've got that.
I hang on to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because my experience has been you tend not to get that in one person.
Yeah. And
So that's why like a lot of founders that are non-technical will totally not be a safe pair of hands. Because they're like, oh, let's do this, let's push into that, let's push in that. And you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to have that kind of mindset. Otherwise, you won't be a founder, you won't grow. Versus often like the two I see of the founder, they're the counterbalance.
Yeah.
They're the safe pair of hands, but they won't have the growth mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And look, I think, talk about product managers being kind of a mini CEO. And why they're mini CEO, and that's because they need to be the best and most astute prioritizer in the business, especially a software business. Because my product manager, Prash, he's hearing from me, mate, can we do this? Can we get this done? Sales team wants something. Customer support team wants something. Enterprise partner wants something. Teacher wants something. And he has to juggle that so astutely and to prioritize, again, probably effort and impact and try and hit that balance correctly. And if he does that well, then he is a bit of a unicorn, because the knowledge of the knowledge around the complexity of the request that is being made and the risk offset against the impact of getting it deployed, that's a really, really acute skill.
Complex problem to solve.
Very complex
Yeah.
problem to solve, yeah.
So, I mean, I like the idea. Maybe it's capacity is part of it. And I think that's a huge chunk of it, but I don't think that's everything, right?
Definitely.
Like I'm sure engineers at Kodak had a lot of capacity.
Yeah.
They probably had nothing to do all day, right? But they still couldn't see it. What else is there besides capacity that one needs to figure out? The capacity is definitely one of them.
Yep. And so I think it's, if you can see there's capacity to educate yourself, and again, use the analogy to work on your personal skill set business. So we talk about it as, obviously, as founders, on the business, in the business. If we look at our ability to be an engineer or what have you, again, we hear it with the tech cohort, right? It's like, can you get these business owners just to carve out one day of their month to come and work on themselves? And even though it's really hard.
Even though you only get 70% success in most of the sessions I go to,
That's right.
a third don't show up.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it starts with capacity. And sometimes capacity can be, and you will have seen this in workplaces plenty of times, as I have, sometimes capacity can be a bit of a heat shield or an excuse to...
I'm too busy. Too busy. Can't do it.
To push against change. And so the first thing is to get on board with your counterpart or your team. It's okay, we've agreed you've got a bit of free space. You've got a bit of clear space. All right.
Has anyone ever agreed they've got clear space?
Well, this is
ever in history.
So I think I've said to you, in conversations we've had previously, that if you show me a team that is comfortable saying, I don't know, I need help, I made a mistake, I'm late, I'm over budget, they're comfortable saying that, then I'll show you a team on rocket boosters every single time. Because that vulnerability to say that something has gone wrong means that the problem can be solved extra quickly, collaboratively, and you can move forward and be stronger together as a team. Now, in respect to admitting that you have capacity,
even thinking I've got capacity, because like my 7-year-old mum is so busy. Oh my God, she's busy from like morning to night. Yeah. My 5-year-old is busy. Like no matter how much free time you have, just work expands.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's good people management, right? And again, I think it's promoting the vulnerability or running a culture that rewards and encourages vulnerability.
I don't think it's vulnerability. I think it's just them actually having that knowledge.
But you don't think it starts with vulnerability? I would say it starts because everyone thinks, or a huge proportion of society thinks that, how's work? Oh, yeah, not bad. Yeah, I'm running at 90%. Would they ever say it to their boss? Like, no way.
Yeah.
And so I think it starts with point one or pre-point one. It starts with, you're vulnerable enough to say, I've got some clear space. I've finally got some clear space. Great. All right. Would you be willing to sit down and have a look at maybe get a subject matter expert in, be willing to sit down and get a subject matter expert in and just have a look at the tools you're using, because there's a whole lot of exciting stuff going on out there. As you know, I'm not technical, so I don't want to push it onto you, but would you be willing to work with me on maybe improving output and capacity, whatever, and then hopefully getting an authentic response and then work.
I mean, no one's going to say no, right?
Well, no, but again, I do think that it comes down to, if you have a culture where people feel safe to say, I'm having a really quiet week, and they know that the response from the business won't be, A, we don't need you, B, I'm going to triple down on your workload, but instead they're going to go, so pleased to hear you're running at 95%. That's about where I want everyone. In the next couple of weeks, let's take advantage of this time, and I'd really like to sit you down about embracing some of these new exciting technologies.
Let me challenge you that on the vulnerability side. I think engineering team, just look at the way they design, I imagine you use Agile or Scrum or some version of it, is you're actually designed, as soon as you're busy, you go grab another card.
Mm-hmm.
So engineers are used to knowing, when I've got free space, I will go and ask for more work.
Yeah.
So I think normally they're okay with saying, hey, I need more to do.
Yeah.
Hey, Scrum Master, Product Manager, give me the next card to start working on.
Yeah.
So I think that part is mostly solved in agile dev. The part that then might not be solved is in how do you get them to want to learn these new skills,
Yeah.
use these new skills, use these new tools?
Yeah. I think that if, to use, I guess, agile language, if you said to them at the end of whether let's say again, I use a real world example. Let's say that this Queensland project's our epic, right? Now, as part of the retrospective, which again I'm pulling a number out of the sky, but let's say you have a 2 hour retro once every 2 weeks. Now, let's say that rather than pulling 10 cards for the next 2 weeks, you say to them, guys, pressure's come off. Just grab five. Obviously, speaking all in analogies here, just grab five because I want you to spend half of your week on, again, working on your business as an engineer, and that's actually going to become part of the sprint. And so you can take twice as long on your five cards, but I want you to really push the limits with adopting new tools and technology, new mindsets, growth mindsets, to see if there are different and more efficient ways to solve these problems in a less pressured environment. I'm not telling you to change with a full workload. I'm requesting that you contemplate change with half a workload for 2 weeks, for example.
I wonder whether you're projecting your level of competence and ability to change on mid-level engineers.
Big time. Absolutely. And I hope that's the culture I run. I don't think I do it completely successfully. We, especially for probably the last 7 to 8 years, we really pivoted from what I'd call a sort of micromanagement sort of culture to one where we hired. I mean, we really. I don't want to say we hired on culture, trained on skills. Again, that's inappropriate for an engineer because the skills are so important. But at the same time, that cultural alignment was so important. And again, to speak very openly, when you're talking with engagement of offshore teams, and we have a team in the Philippines, team in India. Team in the Philippines, you have a team member who's been with us 14 years. I think the shortest tenure on that team is about 7. So these are long-standing individuals. India, like I've said, there for coming up 7 years. The loss of face does not feed, the loss of face reticence, let's call it that, does not necessarily feed into an ability to say, I'm wrong or I'm late. So it's taken some work. You talk about business challenges,
That's
probably
a complex thing. Yeah.
one of the proudest, probably one of the proudest like aspects. It's not one singular event or achievement in the business, but it's that I feel like I run a multicultural team who are very happy to say, I need help.
I hear that. I think my point was slightly different. Often as a founder or a very senior manager who's very skilled, you're very good at time management. You're very good at regulating what you need to do, prioritizing what you do when you have free time. Let me go consciously go allocate that to go learn something new, read an article, vibe code something. Often mid-level engineers or more juniors that just don't have that level of expertise. And that's what I was thought you might be projecting your level to do that onto theirs. So perhaps another way to do it is, let's just say you normally have 10 cards, is you're great, we're going to allocate 8 cards for dev, but these 2 cards are legitimate tasks for you to do this AI task,
Exactly.
to do this AI task,
Yeah.
where you super structure it for them and
Yeah.
you actually make it part of the sprint.
Yeah, totally.
And I've not tried that, but it's a great idea. I'm totally going to try that now.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's why, and it's sort of in the mindset of fail fast, fail cheap. It's everything's on rocket boosters, right? Everything's on steroids right now, and that is that the failing fast and the failing cheap is now 20x, 50x what it used to be, or the opportunity to fail fast, fail cheap, I should say. And again, imparting that mindset onto perhaps a young, risk averse engineer who didn't sign up to be an entrepreneur, didn't sign up to break rules, didn't sign up to challenge norms, just there to pull a paycheck, do a great job, go home. Absolutely a challenge.
Yeah.
Big challenge. But I think with good, once again, I think with good, people management, team management, reassurance, even allowing them to make a few mistakes and then, walking the walk, make the mistakes, and that's fine. So we didn't break anything. It's
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
it's sitting on that instance. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like you shipped it. Well done. Let's go around and do it again. Be better.
But I wonder, and maybe this is just my arrogance once it comes to AI, that AI is so great, so useful, can make everyone's life better when you're an engineer. You don't need to worry about the philosophical side of things. You don't need to worry about, hey, it's okay to make mistakes, to be vulnerable. Maybe you don't need to worry about growth mindset. It's a super structured thing where great 2 cards in every sprint are AI specific tasks. And it's a nice, easy way to bleed a bit of training into them.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff will just happen as part of your normal culture. But
Uh,
maybe that's not part of this conversation. It's
yeah.
just, hey, we want to allocate 20% of our time to upskilling. And this month happens to be AI. Next year will be whatever comes after AI. And so we're a growth company.
Mm.
And this is how we've systematized it to make sure it happens.
Yeah. And it's that does raise an interesting thought, interesting um, sort of challenge in that a large part of our business is GovTech, high security, high risk, needs to be, absolutely maxed out on compliance, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the other part of the business, whether it be our professional development project, that's just straight up and down B2C, private sector, do what we want, pretty much. Now, what you're talking about with the 20% or just the blending of the two is that I can spin up 3 new products, and I'll tell you these 3 new products. One is it all leverages our existing database of teachers and trying to put more services and products in front of them. One of them is called ClassCover Hub, right? Probably once a week, I get a company contact me saying, "Can you email all your schools basically selling my product?" I say no. Now, there's a couple of competitors out there who have been bashing away for years with marketplaces and portals for businesses that sell into schools. We'll shortly deploy ClassCover Hub, which allows businesses that sell into schools to buy a listing, just stick it on the ClassCover app. ClassCover deals, basically partner discounts for our 200,000 teachers. Same thing. Lots of people doing it, plugging it straight into a massive database. Now, those 2 products there, they've been vibe coded. They're ready to go. The designs look awesome. They're all good to go. How do we responsibly and safely plug that into I don't call it slow moving, but you know what I'm saying? How do we plug that into the GovTech?
Yeah. So I think,
And that's the challenge.
what you do is the first nuance I think you've already done is you have 2 separate teams,
Mm.
like the vibe code, high risk, low security posture
Yeah.
versus a super high security posture, super slow. We've got our every 5 years release software, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So I think the first thing, which sounds like you're doing, is you have 2 separate teams because I
Mm.
think one person can't pivot between the
No.
two, and people will self-select what group kind of
Yeah.
works better for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But then the challenge is, okay, well, I've got this revenue base, I've got these clients, they're super happy. There's all this cool stuff my competitors are doing that I can't do in this environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then how do you bring it together? That sounds like that's the problem you're having.
Well, it's a future. So at the
Yeah, a
moment,
problem you'll have.
it's almost like we've got a bunch of things sitting on a staging environment. And we've got this live environment, which is again becoming bigger and more complex and higher risk because of every new contract, more paymasters to serve, so to speak. And yeah, it's how to blend the two.
Yeah.
Um, and again, it's we haven't really addressed the issue or more addressed the challenges. Yeah, at the moment, it's almost like we've got the pretty pictures and we've got the front end and the UX that to a non-technical customer, they go, "Wow, it's amazing. That's done. That's feature complete."
Yep.
But then
When can we sign up?
over here, we've got 185 non-functional requirements, and maybe by plugging in this shiny new stuff, it's going to have to play catch up on compliance and security.
So the analogy I'll give is Zero. You guys use Zero?
Yeah.
Awesome. Steady, safe,
Mm-hmm.
quite a boring tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you want boring because
Yeah.
you don't want
Yeah.
insane amounts of innovation. So that's why they have the Zero marketplace, where super innovative companies can have a crazy idea that might break
Mm-hmm.
something, has a bit of risk, but they've got these amazing guardrails around the core Zero
Yeah.
data. Maybe it's that, but the people who build the marketplace app just happen to work for ClassCover as well.
And that's my product manager has suggested this about having I think he referred what does he refer to as 2-2-1, or was it 2 devs, 2 designers 1 month or something? There's some sort of methodology where these little sort of sub teams.
Pods.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're pods, yeah.
yeah. And so that's been a suggestion. I think it's a really good one. And again, it's the exciting time because the good news is we've got this, very stable revenue and profit, in a dominant position in the Australian education market, and we do have the the working capital to reinvest, to go and have some fun, run some experiments, and that includes launching an island, for example.
So pods won't solve that because pods will just allow you to have smaller teams, be more agile and be more responsive. So you might have like a small pod of 3 people that work just on your next government contract, right? Just to go sort that out. So pods are really good at giving small teams agility and focus. But I think what you need is it's almost like the zero marketplace analogy again. You need someone to put all the guardrails around this. This is the heavy government platform. That you can only integrate with these APIs and this level of security. You can do whatever you want here. You can go crazy here, but here's where we vet everything that comes in and out. And it's probably like a 3 to 6 month build. It's not a trivial thing to build.
And I'm laughing because if my CTO Ash listens to this, like, and I love him to bits. He's a good mate of mine now. Like, he must feel like, the Grinch has stole Christmas. And again, this is sort of to this core problem, right? Talk about the guardrails, talk about the person who's there to say, yep, great, go at it, go build a zero marketplace, but here's the rules of the game. And he is so effective at doing that. And I know that I make him uncomfortable sometimes because I'm asking and asking, and he's going, we can't, or not yet, or it's going to take 4 times more because it's not just pretty pictures on the front end. It needs to be
stuff you need to build.
So and he does a super job at doing that, and frankly manages me, which is what
he's great at managing up,
which is what I want. It's great.
Well, but I think that's what you get. Like again, when he has the mind space to build it, if he can build the guardrails, he can make his environment safe and secure. Because today it's 3 ClassCover apps, right? It's your marketplace, your LinkedIn, whatever you build. But tomorrow it might be a product that a third-party company builds, or a government department builds, or I don't know, WA government want to integrate a new product that you guys don't have, or want to integrate with your data.
And we do that. But we want it to all be in one environment ultimately, and it's just, again, no different to so many other businesses. But it's just that we have the enterprise side.
I don't think you can get away with having it in one environment.
As in having all those products?
Yeah. So my experience has been, and every I don't know your code base, every company is different. But my experience has been you can't have them in one environment, and you can't have them in one team. So you literally have one environment integrate into another environment.
Oh, you mean in the back end?
Yeah, in the back end.
Oh, back end for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And the front end might look the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll trick users.
Sorry, I mean one user environment. At the front end. So that and having, let's say, the bookings, which is the core again, and that's the bread and butter. Like, cannot risk.
You can't screw that.
That's the million bookings a year. That's the eyeballs. That's the revenue. That's everything. The complexity of that is what the little deals and marketplace fever dreams
the coupons.
But how do we get them all on the same interface with the back end being being secure and compliant, and also to build them in a way that is done as quickly as possible in a responsible manner. And it's funny, I'm verbalizing all this with you. I do think we're doing a pretty good job.
And what you're describing is completely solvable. So many companies have solved exactly that problem. There's nothing new about that.
It's a really interesting conversation to have because, and especially now that I've definitely, hopefully, with some good self-awareness, I've throttled back me agitating them in a time of
stress,
which just allows me to research and think and prioritize and talk with other team members who aren't involved in the Queensland Beast project. And so when we are ready to go, I think we'll have a refined sort of hit list of areas that we want to, test and innovate,
focus on,
and adopt.
The other thing I've seen founders do, like founders have brilliant ideas. They just got a lot of them, and you got to figure out which ones are brilliant because 90% aren't, but 10% are amazing. Is if you have the capital, and you might be doing this already, is just have a separate team, have like 2 or 3 devs. One dev, one product guy that just report to you.
This is what I mean. I mean, this is, whether it be a pod or whatever, this is my product manager, Prash.
Oh, he's a 2+2, whatever it was.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what he suggested because, I'm sure he's got a Ben's crazy ideas folder in his email. I mean, he's basically, we joke about it. Like, and it will be on the basis of a another company in another sector that's doing something often can be applied to education, or it could be an article I've written or whatever. And now I'll just forward it to them and say, just put it in the Ben's crazy idea folder, and to execute on hopefully the 10% of those crazy ideas which are half decent. To have that team off to the side would be useful.
And what it would give your product manager, it would get you out of their hair. And that might be the greatest win ever.
I was about to say he loves it. I think he does. Again, we have a great relationship, but I'm sure there's times when they've been so over capacity, and I've just picked
an email pings up.
Wrong time. The wrong time to go. What about this?
Totally.
Very fun.
Totally. So let's start wrapping up. So I mean, the question was, how do we get a team to start adopting AI as part of their workflow? Well, what do you reckon the takeaways are?
I mean, I think that again, it's funny, and I know we've been trying to get together for best part of sort of 3 or 4 months now, and you positioned to me when you first got in touch about think of a problem, and it's amazing in this fast changing environment how that problem has evolved. Now, I think as I sit here with you today, that I would mark myself reasonably highly when it comes to solving the problem that I've put forward today about adopting AI, because I've reflected, I've been more disciplined.
About time? Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas if we'd sat down a month ago, I reckon you would have gone, you just got to leave these guys alone. Like, give them some time.
They were probably 6 months from completing this project, not 2 months from completing it.
Exactly. But I think the takeaways, I actually think what we've talked about today in respect of, especially using the agile language around the sprints, and to say that it's not realistic if their regular workload is 10 cards in a fortnight. If I come over the top and say, you got to do the 10, plus you got to educate.
Great. Here's 12. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not only does that equal 12, it also is 12 plus change, which equals probably 20.
That's hard.
Exactly.
That's very hard.
How can I expect good results if I'm going to expect that of my team? So by me being a realist, and again, me taking all right, time to work on the business, not in the business mindset, we say, guys, awesome job at Queensland. Go, let's celebrate. It's important too, right? It's that I don't turn around the second that job's finished and go, we're changing.
Give them time to breathe.
Exactly. Let them celebrate, reflect, chill, and then being as empathetic as I can be, is to say, look, what I was thinking was to take a little bit off the day-to-day workload, but we're going to replace that responsibly with hopefully a bit of education, but opening our minds up to what's out there, because I don't want you doing this off the clock. I don't want you feeling pressured, but I do want to expand our minds a little bit, because my understanding is what is available out there is very exciting and can do great things for the business.
And there's new tools to learn, and competencies to pick up.
Yeah. So I think blending the education into
a sprint,
which
I've never seen anyone do before. So I'm totally going to try that now in our company.
Yeah, I think that's a really good place we've ended up in.
Yeah, and it might only be one card out of 50, right?
Yeah,
it
that's right.
might be less when you're busy.
Exactly. But I think
it'll be a card.
I think it could be well worth trying. Yeah.
Totally. Well, I'm going to try that as well. I'll let you know how I go. Let me know how you go. The other thing you might consider, how bleeding edge are you with AI tech? Do you personally use in your personal life?
Yeah.
Like, do you use OpenClaw, for example?
Yeah. In respect of, where I get most out of it, outside of sort of UX, UI, vibe coding, solutions to problems, what have you, in and around the research, just as a research partner, a thought partner. Even when we went to, when we thought about going to Ireland, obviously that validation process was done by someone else for us pretty much. But we had 5 years ago, give or take, the executive MBA program at UTS got in touch with me and said, look, can you come and present to the students and what have you? And then what we're going to do after that is we want you to come to them with a problem in your business. And 3 exec MBA graduates are going to try and solve this problem for you. My problem was I want to find the next best 3 countries to deploy ClassCover into. They worked on it for 2 months and they published a report, what have you. And it was good without being like great because it wasn't from education subject matter experts. In respect to research, and we said personal use of AI, I had a heat mapped 1 to 20 of next countries to deploy ClassCover into,
In like 20 minutes or something.
rationalizing
Yeah.
each country across 10 attributes that I wanted to score out of 10 for each. And so, France was 47, Ireland 45, South Korea, boom, 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 boom. So at this point in time, that's where I'm getting the most utility out of it. Is as a research partner to try and explore new opportunities, both in the tech business and, as you know, I also have got arm's length managed around my family business, and that's how we found the Philippines to expand the manufacturing business into that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that's fantastic using it for research. But what I think might be interesting is so I'll use OpenClaw for example because I've come back 3 months holidays. While I was away, OpenClaw came to be. So I've been hacking around it for the last couple of days. Is all those micro use cases, they're amazing conversations with the developers. So I'll give you an example of a micro use case for me. So before every meeting that I have, OpenClaw, which now has access to all my data, I hope it doesn't take advantage of me. I hope it doesn't. We'll go look at any emails you've sent me, look at any iMessages you've sent me, summarize email, look at your LinkedIn profile, and give me a 300 character summary of everybody before I meet them. Um, once a week, I'll go through my entire calendar and tell me, hey, you don't have enough travel time between these events. It's just all these little micro use cases.
Oh,
I find if I use that, that's a really interesting conversation for a developer when you sit with them and be like, oh, yeah, hey, I'm using AI for this. You're not telling them all of a sudden they can ship code as quickly as safety culture,
yeah,
but you're just telling them how you're using it.
yeah, interesting.
So it might be worthwhile in the same way we talk about, getting developers to spend time educating themselves is to get really deep in AI
Yeah,
in all your personal lives. And it's just a fantastic conversation to have.
yeah, yeah,
Like, hey, you're off to Taiwan on a holiday, and I made this cool little AI agentic bot that, hey, let me show you for 3 minutes,
yeah.
and this is how I picked my hotels.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, and it's good. It's good to, again, just to, I guess, demonstrate the growth mindset.
That you're actually doing it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Like I reckon the first companies that moved over to email and got away from letters and memos were the ones where the CEOs said, I'm sending this via email.
Oh, big time. Absolutely. Got to like lead.
You got to walk the walk. Yeah.
You're making mistakes. We'll be having a growth mindset. Um, and again, it is a balance because the way that manifests, or certainly the perception I give off is pretty much whether it be the Ben's crazy idea folder, or we're deploying to Queensland, we're launching in Ireland, we've got a AI professional development product shipping, and we've got the hub and the deals and the whatever. So and all of that, well, not all of it, most of that has been expedited by use of AI, whether it be the iteration, the thinking, the development, the deployment. But yeah, there's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what that will do, it'll just mimic to the guys or just mention to them or just kind of show an example to them that you're learning this tool set as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're seeing them obtaining benefit in this personal scenario or setting this business meeting or summarizing these notes.
Yeah.
It'll just make AI bubble to the top.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I actually think that and again, in full respect to capacity and where we're at the moment, but I think in the 4 to 8 weeks to come, the leading from the front around adoption will need to come from CTO plus our most senior engineer on the team, and they'll be the ones because I feel like I'm already doing it to the point of annoyance, but I think they'll be the ones to go, guys, look, I've changed my text editor, and that's
Here's this amazing text editor, does all these cool things.
Because if let's use that text editor example that you gave, and you start with one, you're with it for life. If the CTO and our most senior engineer
are happy to change,
exactly, exactly. So I think, and that's in any business, you need to pick those who can influence and persuade on particular topics, and pretty much work with them to persuade the people around.
And you've got to pick the one that you think you can persuade.
Well, totally, yeah, absolutely. And again, it's very similar to what we've talked about in the last little while. It's can I persuade them? Can I persuade my CTO to change his text editor? That's kind of the title to the book. Yeah, because if we can do that,
he can change anything. That's right. And maybe there's a few baby steps because it's almost like asking to change religion, right? That's huge. Yeah. So for example, like I use a tool, Fishka, to automatically reply to my emails. every email that comes in, it drafts a reply, you use it.
Yeah.
But then I told my CEOs about that, then probably 20 of them use it now.
Yeah.
Just because they've seen me use something super low impact,
Yeah.
super easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't a foundational change in the way they worked, but it was their first blend or taste into what some of this cool tech could do.
Yeah. And then again, again, almost said I've said this to you before, but if someone says to me, "What do you want? What attribute do you want your kids to grow up with?" And I always said empathy. Because empathy is a superpower. It helps you be a great salesperson, great product developer, be a great customer service person, be a great human. Now, you need to use empathy when it comes to using AI, and that is how much do you delegate your tasks and your communication and your everything over to AI before it becomes disingenuous,
Totally.
And so again, from a leader point of view, I had a guy on our team, I asked him a question and I got a probably 3-page response back with the signature ChatGPT hyphen. And I was like, mate, do you think I'm a bloody idiot?
Yeah, you just wasted my time.
Wasting time.
Yeah.
But if he had led the email off saying, I don't have a heap of time to respond to you, but I've just chucked it in GPT and this is what it came up with, his credibility is completely intact because he's empathized with the situation and then responded accordingly. And it's no different to that, whether it be the automatically replying to or using AI to reply to emails. It's, are you willing to invest the 5% of time just to run your eye over it to make you not look like a fool?
To review the draft before you hit send. Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's an empathy thing. Yeah. And it's just saying, okay, it can do this much. It's going to say, and it's no different to what I used to say to startup founders about offshore dev teams. 10% the cost. But don't be so stupid to think that your net cost is going to be a 90%, net saving is going to be 90%, because for that gross saving, you're going to need to invest more time on a video call, more time because English is a second language, whatever, empathize.
There's overhead. Yeah.
And then if you can get away with a net saving of 60%, you're well ahead.
Yeah. Just aside, because I agree with you on empathy. It's like, it's one of the most foundational human emotions. It's one of the ones that I find it's incredibly difficult because you have to realize someone exists outside you. And you got to have enough clear space in my mind to be like, that's what that guy's saying. Why are they saying it? Let me process that before I blurt something out.
Yeah.
Bit of a side, not a child rearing podcast, but how does one teach that? Like, how do you teach that to kids or to other people?
Yeah, I think it's extremely difficult. That's why I think it's a superpower, because I think that I think that, and it's funny you mentioned about whether it be myself or a CTO demonstrating that they're willing to change. I think success stories that again, using empathy, if I know what you identify as success is, if I can show you a way that empathy helped you succeed, you might go, wow, geez, I can make a bit more money if I'm a bit more empathetic.
It's a good thing to do. Yeah.
Or if I'm a teacher and I'm wrestling with a troublesome class or something like that, and I demonstrate that empathizing with my students allows that class to be more settled, I think that it needs to have a tangible connection to successful outcome. Easier said than done. Very hard to teach. But I think that most people value, they value being educated on things that ultimately either make their life easier, enrich their lives.
I'll tell you the way that I've been trying. I've got twins at a 4.5, I've got a 2-year-old kid, 2-year-old too young to teach anything. With a 4.5-year-old twins, the way I've been trying to teach empathy is to have them feel it in their body. So if one of them's crying, I actually will ask the other one, your brother Nicky is crying. Are you feeling sad or happy? Because I want them to feel bad. So I think to be empathetic, you have to physically feel what the other person felt.
Big time. Yeah.
I'll tell you in 20 years if it works out or not.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, I mean, with kids, like you see it in living color. Like I've not a parenting podcast, but I have a 13-year-old who just feels everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, where's the nature and nurture in that? And if you apply it to an adult and empathizing and trying to teach them to empathize to be a better salesperson, well, it's difficult. But again, with successful outcomes, if I can say, look, I put myself in the shoes of this customer, that made me pivot my strategy, and they made the purchase. You hope that you can sort of
guide them into.
that
I wonder
tough stuff.
whether you could be more directive and to tell me what you reckon, right? So is to tell them like I looked at that person, they were obviously upset about their job or this product, right? I felt that upsetness.
Mhm.
I felt that inside me, and that's why I changed what I do.
Yeah.
Because I reckon we're driven by what we feel,
Mhm.
less about what we think on a conscious
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know whether you can teach that to a salesperson.
I think
Some are just
difficult.
born with it, some
Yeah.
aren't. I don't know.
I think very difficult. And it's funny, the team used to laugh at me if on the rare occasion we'd have an irate customer, never on the school side, on the teacher side. And I'm a teacher by background, so they love our teachers.
Hmm.
But let's say they thought something had gone wrong with a booking or something, they missed a booking, whatever, that's irate. I would relish the opportunity to get that teacher on the phone and just to have that conversation and to de-escalate them. And again, you'll have seen this plenty of times, but how often do you hear stories where you've turned a quite irate customer into a super fan? Yeah, that's a pretty well-trodden path in customer service when it comes to success stories and successful outcomes. Me and my personality, I love that challenge because I know we're not trying to swindle them, rip them off, do anything unethical, and so, but they might have a point, something might have frustrated them, and I try to take the time. I don't do it these days because just capacity and number of
Got too
people
big.
and
Yep.
whatever. But back in the day, I used to love it.
Yeah.
And I used to love just trying to calm them down, trying to empathize with where they're coming from. They've just missed out on $450 of casual teaching work. That hurts. Completely acknowledge that. And getting off the phone and going, yeah, she was fine in the end. She's
So
okay.
I reckon why you would be effective of that, and I can feel it now, literally, is that emotions are contagious.
Mm,
When someone's irate, you can choose to make that contagious and make you very irate.
yeah,
But when you're calm and collected and empathetic, the other person almost has no choice but to be the same. Like you can't be angry at a calm person, right? You just
yeah.
can't.
And
And if you can, you're probably a psychopath.
I think that, and it's interesting. Another sort of unwritten rule in our business is that if you have anything remotely close to a grievance with a coworker, even any slightly like you haven't done
Yep,
this,
a small grind
report,
somewhere, a bit of friction. Yep.
get off the typing
Yeah.
and get on a video call right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the second I'm looking you in the eye, and it could be face to face, even
Yeah.
a video call still is effective, whether it be that non-verbal language, whether it be that I'm calm, you're irate, whatever. De-escalation happens by a factor of about 95% just by looking at you in the
Yeah.
eye, knowing that, you know,
You're a human.
you're a human. I didn't get out of bed in the morning to
Mm,
make you angry.
mm.
So that's 95% of the job done. And then stay calm, empathize, and just sort of hear them out and hopefully get a good result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Perfect. Well, I mean, the last thing we finish up with this podcast, question I ask all the guests, what is something that you always knew to be true that later on you actually found out wasn't?
Something I knew to be true that later I found out that wasn't. Wow. On the on the hop question, something I knew to be true that later found out that wasn't. Look, I think I was pretty idealist as a human, and always thought that had an incredibly blessed life. I thought I worked my backside off, but but on the shoulders of being born in Australia. Little, I say to my kids,
Lucky country. Yeah.
"You've won a lottery 5 times. A, you were born. B, you were born in Australia. C, you were born to a reasonably well-off family. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going
Totally. Totally.
3 times, 5 times, whatever." When we lost my dad 6 years ago, like, number one, I felt like that I went from being a child to an adult like that because that's how quickly he died. And probably everything will be all right was the thing that I found not to be true. Everything is not necessarily going to be all right.
Explain that more. Give me a bit more context. What do you mean?
Well, just that a little bit of it'll never happen to me. The car crash
Mm,
won't happen.
yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned to you before we started. I love my surfing. I love the ocean. Whatever. My neighbour 4 doors down, Mercury Salacus, got eaten by a shark at my home beach back in September. I now look at this place that I used to love, that I used to send my 13-year-old kids down to play in on their own, as a place that I'm now fearful of. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Not everything turns out to be all right. And I say it from a position of someone where a lot has gone right. Luck plus hard work plus timing, tailwinds, whatever, I'm fine. But it doesn't always end up all right.
That's really true. I reckon the base and empathy of life, where life goes by default, is unhappiness. That is the default. It's like Martin Luther King used to say, there's a law of God, there's a law of man, and whenever there's a difference, good men should stand up.
Yeah.
So the default of life actually goes to unhappiness.
Yeah,
it's through our actions that we try, sometimes very unsuccessfully, we try to push it to a happier place.
Yeah, super interesting.
Yeah.
Good to think about.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mate. Really
Thanks,
enjoyed it.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do want to be a guest, make sure you hit me up and do follow me on socials, and make sure you check out future episodes. Thanks, guys.